Okay, we've applied our second application of body filler. We're going to come in now and cheese grade or file this one to save us a lot of sanding time again. You can cheese grade your body filler after about 10 to 12 minutes after the application. Really saves a lot of sanding. We've applied our last application of body filler that we need to bring it back to the contour. So now the next step will be to start sanding with 80 grit sandpaper. We're going to be going still with 80 grit sandpaper, but using a sanding block. The sanding block keeps the sandpaper flat against the surface during the sanding process so that we can come out with a level surface. I'm going to go with finer grit sandpaper now to help feather edge out the body filler where the metal and the body filler meet one another so that we can have a real smooth surface. You want to make sure that the edge where the filler and the metal come together is completely smooth here. So when you rub your finger across it, you don't feel any type of ledge or little cliff area here. Our next step is to wipe the surface clean with a dry, clean cloth to remove the excess dust that would be on the surface. As soon as we wipe it down, we'll come back with a tack cloth and wipe the area to remove the remaining dust. You don't want any dust in your primer or paint. This is Marhide Supreme Primer. You notice we have a red oxide and we have a gray. The gray is for whites, gray color cars, silvers, and pastel color cars. The red will be great for doing colors like red or like this car here, burgundy. You need to make sure you always shake the can well before making the application. We're going to put on 2 to 3 thin coats of this primer. It's okay if your repair shows through even after the first application. We're going to go ahead and apply the second coat now. We have waited about 5 minutes between the coats. Putting on a little bit thicker, starting to completely cover up our repair now. It's like one more coat would probably do this job. Now that our first coat of primer has dried, we're going to go with a medium to fine sandpaper and fine sand the primer. After doing this procedure, we'll be able to see any imperfection that may be in the primer and the filler before painting. Once you've finished sanding, again, you'd need to wipe the surface with a clean, dry cloth. And at this point, you'll be able to see imperfections that lie in the primer and in the filler. Now we'll make an application of our glazing and spot putty. This product will, again, fill in these small imperfections that lie on the surface. And this product is designed to go on real thin, really pressing the product in. What we're going to do now is come back and sand the spot and glazing putty with 180 to 220 grit sandpaper. We'll be sanding off what we don't need here, and the only glazing and spot putty will be left with what we need to fill the imperfections. Now that we're finished sanding the spot and glazing putty, we want to clean it off with a dry rag to remove a large amount of the dust. And then we'll take the tack cloth and wipe the area down so we can get ready to prime it. The surface is smooth and ready for the primer. We're going to prime the area in now with our Marhide primer that's been shaken. And it's okay if you still see the repair after you make your first application. We're going to untape the primer now so that we can sand these edges so that we can feather edge into the original paint job here so that we don't have these rough edges. We're going to be sanding with 400 grit sandpaper to feather edge into the original paint here and to sand the primer to prepare it for the paint so that it will adhere. Now that the primer has been fine sanded, we'll come in and wipe the surface with a clean, dry cloth to remove a lot of the dust. And we'll come with the tack cloth again to finish removing the remaining dust. Now that the surface is completely smooth and back to the original contour, we're going to mask off this area to show you how the pros would feather this paint into the old original paint. Now that we've masked the majority of the car off, I would like to show you that technique that the pros use to mask their cars off so that the paint feather edges itself in. Notice the curl in the masking paper here. That will allow the paint, when being painted, to just feather itself out into the original paint. We're going to use the Marhide aerosol spray paint on this car to spot it in. However, you can go to your local auto paint supplier also, and they can mix the paint for you. You want to apply several thin coats of paint. Now that we have brought this repair back to its original contour, you can see how easy it is to make your own auto body repairs. Let the paint dry a couple days, and then you can use the Bondo rubbing compound, the Bondo polishing compound, along with the Bondo buffing pad that is easily attached to your drill to bring it back to a real high gloss.